Yeah, so, we had our BYSA meeting, we were looking to invest in community. Looking at a lot of large investment for us, all $50,000.
If we receive the orders, 50,000.
Yes. We looked at different projects. For us, the turf and the BOR made sense. One, because our BYSA players are practicing on that before our fields in Vermont already, and they're practicing on cement. Not ideal for get turned around. Two, also to get used for the high school and our high school athletics who currently practicing gym in preseason. And then three, for the community at large, so that events can be run in the while the ice is out from, I believe they pull in March and it comes back in November. So making the BOR usable year. We look at it with a partnership with you guys as a possible opportunity for investment as well. We looked at other areas, Stowe does this, and the Rockland rink does this as well. They book out, when the ice comes out, they're fully booked all year. And they actually generate revenue, working on the start. Our vision for this is to possibly have 3 rates. BYSA and organizations that paid in to the turf will have 1 rate. We're looking roughly about $35 an hour. So it's the current rate we pay now. The second rate would be for our local schools here in high school, probably about $75 an hour. And then the third rate would be a premium rate for for-profit organizations. We have, different soccer leagues, woodchuck lacrosse, and we're looking at these rates so that after we put the initial investment into this turf, within 15 years, we can purchase it again. And we're not having to use it in 24 months. So our vision is to make this a self-sustainable investment and possibly even a money raiser for you guys, like whatever, projects you have on the side. That's about it. Any questions?
We also looked at a number of different turfs, and actually, that's why I brought the sample. If you walk on the sample, they've made it so that it's for kind of head injuries or falls and that kind of thing. It's very cushiony instead of just a simple turf. And so it's a really high-end turf. That's why it's so expensive. But we thought it was important to make sure that it had the right backing for it.
And that's a good point. And we did look at carpet turf. And that's traditional. We use that as a center. The problem with carpet turf, any of you have played there in the leagues, it bunches up, just trip on it, and it's damaged. You have to replace that whole roll. Here, right now, the presidents, I believe, at 210 a panel, right? So if there's one issue with the panel, you just pull that panel. We're also not looking to put any lines on it because we want it to be multi-purpose and not just sports related, like soccer lines or lacrosse lines. So, people in the community can rent it and use it, it's for everybody. We also have a second sample there, the sports turf, it's a higher price point with a higher stack. The stack is fake grass, and one with a lower stack that's usable for every sport and also non-athletics.
So those get placed down, then we have permanently, so we just put them in like these carrots here, I guess, so we can run down. Put that for you, we put your trucks and stuff in there and just find out how to do that.
No, so he told us we could, a regular vehicle, pickup truck, car, it's fine. Don't need heavy equipment on it for a long period of time. So there may be an issue with the show that's going on now. But the way you can pull the panels is we can pull the panels to that section that we're going to put heavy equipment. I asked about Carol's drive-through loading, not an issue at all. So it's
You just pull them on the side and they'll do that.
okay.
And then they'll kids put them back or how would that?
Put them.
What was that $50,000 number? What was that?
Where'd that come from?
Yeah, I see $138,000.
Well, that was the final installment we received from the York estate
Oh,
as a beneficiary of the estate back in 2000. 2008 or 10, I don't remember what it was.
So you're saying you have $138,000?
No, we have $50,000.
Oh, you had $50,000, okay.
Then we're looking for other community investments if possible.
So how much does this cost?
That's 135.
I think it's 130 each.
Okay, all right. Okay.
And it is a Canadian company, we asked if it was in Canadian dollars. We did.
Yeah. Montclair, civic center, whatever, I mean, they've had, I think what you guys just talked about, for years, so are you gonna be competing with them for customers?
For the private sector, the for-profit, yes. I was quoted for our BYSA because we had a disastrous year with rain, to rent space there. And it was they were quoting us $125. Yeah, and for us, that's just not sustainable as a youth program. Or I don't know what the use you bring to over there, but there was no way.
And it's our impression that, you know, we wouldn't be stealing necessarily from somebody else because their time does fill up quite quickly. And
So they,
people are looking for time.
okay.
So at the Civic Center in Montpelier, they have a really capital soccer, indoor soccer. They have to have their ice out by March 1st. Soccer has to be in there March 1st through the end of June, or through the end of May.
April,
Yeah,
end of April.
yeah, and then they do their off-season maintenance and then put ice back in July 1st. So basically, they're catering to that one group. They're not taking lacrosse or field hockey because they can't get in there, because the soccer program needs up all the time. So we'll be going after, we have lacrosse in here now on a concrete strip. We can get field hockey, we can get football, we can go for the other sports and keep that place busy. And when we first talked about it, I told these guys, we gotta make it not just for sports, but other uses, watching tournaments, families can rent it hourly for, badminton, picnic, whatever. It's not, we're not going after what Montpelier has.
I'd just like to say that I think this is not about competition, but really about creating more opportunities for our communities. Where Montpelier serves a specific area, and that way into Montpelier, East Montpelier, and that way. Where this location would also serve Williamstown, Northfield, East Barry, those types of other locations in the community. And I think that providing this facility would also would give more opportunities to flourish.
We certainly need more opportunities for whatever, for the building we use. And some of the people around here originally, the building was built, we had 2 tennis courts and basketball courts in there. And that was great in springtime, and it was still snowing or whatever. But as soon as the weather got better, everybody went outside to play tennis and basketball and whatever else. So I guess I'm concerned, why do you think people are gonna wanna use this inside when there might be a lacrosse field outside somewhere or whatever it might be?
No, that's a reality, there's really those 2 ends of the summer that are gonna be used the most.
Yeah.
But having a turf will then allow some programming that maybe we haven't even thought of yet. Someone's gonna come to us and say, hey, I'd like to run a granite show here. We wanna bring down monuments, and they do a terrific program, or who knows what, but not having, you'll never get that opportunity.
A couple of years ago, not a couple of years ago, 10 years ago, was it then? Well, Jeff and I, we priced out a carpet, we went to ISA. Let's do this. University was interested, and we were told by the sports board, no, it's not a need for Montpelier, it's just such a small window. So I guess, because we were eager to do it, so we were looking, an opportunity to go to the ice out once, and
Reuse, but
Those used car.
yeah, used car for 85, and so what's changed now as far as you think the demand from when we were first BYSA.
Well, it's been on our wish list, you know, we wanted to do this, you know, we've all talked about, you know, the spring sports have talked about this, and also the fall sports too, about being able to get inside when the weather was bad, and as we looked at other places that are doing it, and perhaps the shining star is the Rutland rink, which is busy all the time when the ice goes out. So I think there is and will be a need for it, and perhaps it's not going to be boom right away, but
No, that's right, no, so it's, I was down at the, rink in Montpelier for the cross. And I noticed there was a sign they had on the outside of the road that when they put they had a sign, and the Mutual Rocket Ages, this one's rent for, the Irish turf. So, I don't know.
Well,
Those companies,
I'm also president of Captain Stock, which I was involved in those 3 sponsors, helping get Butch. The turf, the newest turf there, which was used, was about 85,000. And I think those 3 companies each put up 5 or 10,000. At the same time, the turf went in, they also put in heaters, which was a kind of a game changer. Because as you know, March can be pretty cold.
How much is it going to cost to cover those?
So 138.
138.
So, and that's,
138.
well, it's more that we also got in the transportation included in that, and the engineer to actually make the cuts, install it. And
That's the total cost.
that's cool, that's it.
Yeah, so I'd like to know a little bit more about your rate structure. You earlier said something to the effect of $35 an hour for your organization and for others who paid in. What is your minimum amount of pay in to qualify for the 35 an hour mark? And also, I don't think I heard specifically what your premium rate was.
I think we will stay competitive with Montpelier, 125.
Okay,
Norwich has a higher rate, but they also,
An hourly rate, yeah.
yeah, okay, and the $35 rate for others who pay in, what's your minimum or your benchmark for qualifiers?
we haven't determined that. We didn't say that question.
This is all preliminary discussions.
Yeah, we are.
and obviously it is their recommendations, and that would be up to this
That
one.
would be up to, yeah.
Come up with what,
All right,
it's not our,
fair
it's
enough.
not our business, but we
Just
we-
wanted to clarify that.
No.
Okay.
We certainly would like a quite low hourly rate.
So for clarification now, what we do over there during the off-high seasons, there's an hourly rate that we charge for schools, BYSA, basically that, barrier the schools and BYSA, they have a lower hourly rate. And outside of private group coming in has an escalated rate. And we'll determine those based on what we need to collect to get the money to put into an account. What we collect, a percentage will go back into the civic center improvement fund, so that when it's time to repurchase, we'll have money. But it's scale.
I think this is important to look at, because, I've had the questions over there, it's unusable right now for sports. I mean, you can, batting cages are fading in there, we've had the cross practices over there, the kids are slipping and sliding, it's just a dead space right now. You can't use it for, high school cross, you try it once and nowhere. The kids maybe, but they're slipping and sliding all over the place, so it gets unused right now, but it's not a really usable space.
And to answer your question about 10 years ago, we do have newer board members here that weren't involved in the conversation. We have a lot more coaches involved too. And like we're saying here, it is a safety issue. I mean, for the young kids slipping around, if they're smashing knees on the cement, it's better than nothing, right? If you don't have anything else. But for us, it is a safety issue.
how much you asking the city to pay?
We were hoping for at least matching. So what we like to say.
And you guys go to town as well, as a building tribute.
Well, being that it's not in the town, I mean, I'm not opposed to going there, but I don't know, if it's acceptability, but I have no problem with their record and saying, hey, you know.
Well, but yeah, this has been an issue, especially when we did the BOR, when they had they brought all the hockey players the last time, like 2, 3 years ago, and I was very talented, it was like, oh, we'll help you go, we might be very talented. You pay money and we disappear. No one went to Barrytown. It's, I know Barrytown, that's been it's, we view it as service to the community, and quite frankly, you know, looking at your special hockey now, you're saying, right?
You know, Barrytown's up,
Yeah, Barrytown. I love Barrytown.
That's
Now, kids, play in this town.
Yeah.
It's kind of a.
And to be quite frank, I've tried to deal with the very, I understand there is now the department there, but we did try to get fields over there by the school, which made it easier for kids in the program to practice there. The first question I got from them was, well, aren't you guys all Berry City kids? They didn't even want to talk to me because they thought it was Berry City.
The fields and courts are an issue in Barrytown, and perhaps that's a discussion for another time.
Well, we tried about 20 years ago to have join the kind of rec boards meeting, do it, enjoy the fields, and Barrytown.
And they are, so I have no problem going.
Yeah, so what's your ideal schedule
For
for getting this in? What are you looking at? Pie in the sky?
But if we can, it'd be next spring.
In the summer, be ideal.
And we would think it's hopefully get it in around August, September, just to get a feel of how quick we can set it up and get it down. So that next spring, we're not trying to figure it out when we're trying to.
Yes.
But if it's 138, wouldn't it be wise for us to see what BOR has done revenue-wise in the last 3 years? I mean, it's pretty easy to come in and say, we're gonna have bocce and softball and baseball. The kids are out, but they're out on the playgrounds now. It just seems that there's a tremendous amount of expense with not enough revenue to carry it over. I'm wondering could we, as a group, or the city, whatever, have some figures that tell how much money was made in the BOR with all these outside ancillaries and compare it to the 138, and how long it's gonna take to pay that off? How long is that good for how many years?
So we're here 15, UVM uses the same company, it's an older product that they use, and they're over 15 years.
15 years?
Mine's at 10 years,
Yes.
15 years and they're still playing on it. They don't have any immediate plans to replace it.
And Rutland, was that 10?
10 years.
Yeah. I think a better idea, and maybe we could get those figures for you, I don't know how much Rutland would want to share, is at the bare minimum, their scheduling of how they schedule it. And there's also something to consider too, in that as a parent, and it's great to say kids are playing on the playground, but very few kids, you go by a lot of basketball courts, it's not a structured activity. A lot of these kids are on their phones. And they're not, I mean, when I was in the 80s, yeah, we were all up there on our bikes. Well, let's be honest, how packed are these playgrounds, right? So more structured activities can happen during that time. Also, there's new indoor soccer, that is a year-round event, right? Box lacrosse is also a year-round event, and that can be run in the summer, and there's revenue to be made there. My daughter plays on Eagle Lacrosse in New Hampshire. They have over, not able to have this number, but they have 40 teams, and each kid pays $150 to participate in that week. So there's definitely opportunity there.
And I agree with Jimmy, you typically want to be able to establish sort of a baseline where you can spend money. It's a little bit difficult right now, because that's not a usable surface right now. So people, push up across, using your onesies like that, I can't do this. And so it's kind of hard to check what we had in there, because this is a different sort of different way to use it, it's unusable right now for that.
I also think to look at numbers for the last few years can make things construed because of COVID, that we missed out on some time, and then we're also kind of dwindling back into things. I know for football, if you guys say football, we have a record number of participants last year, 93. I know that also many of the other sports organizations within our community are bursting at the seams. T-ball, baseball, those types of things as well.
I mean, you're gonna have your homes and take, put this down and your crew's gonna put it down, is it
Mine tells us that it's 6 hours.
Yeah.
6 hours, okay. Oh my God. 3?
You know, it was a team of 6 and you get it within a day.
Yeah, 6.
So it's three guys on each pile.
They'll come in and, yeah, show you.
Yes, and they're gonna
They'll do it the first time, and there's a, I hate to say this, but there's a YouTube video that you can go watch that teach you to do it. I'm not a YouTuber, but apparently a lot of people are.
And Jeff, are you gonna have to have a person over there when activities are going on?
I don't know. Most of the time, it's,
I hope not.
most of the time, it's just, you know, whoever's running, like if Ben's running a lacrosse thing, here's a key, you know, turn off the lights when you're done.
Okay. That's acceptable to you?
Yep,
Okay.
I've been doing it for years.
So just finally, for me, storage of the material when it's not used, so I don't know how much space it occupies, it's like a big hump, like a couple tables, fairly thick, and you stack it up.
So it's pallets, so they're gonna have it on pallets, it comes in 152-foot trailer. It all fits in that. So that would be either we find it, talking to Jeff, within the UR dispatch, or we rent a trailer from Elements. And it all
Just
fits.
parking beside the.
Yep, it's weatherproof, it doesn't absorb water, or mold. So yeah, and it would either be a trailer or under the bleachers or.
Would it fit me if it needs to?
Well, you know, we'll end up on a little trailer.
Yeah.
That makes sense, huh?
Yeah. I could circle back on the funding, touch on it briefly. You know, EYSA would contribute around 50, Berry City, maybe you could match, Berry Town is worth looking into. I don't know if we talked about our fund as potential source, are you going to businesses to cover this as well?
Ideally, best case scenario, the super point would be, we would fire those things.
So now we gotta buy a trailer to store. We'll probably rent it. Yeah.
And split it, whatever.
So potentially looking with the civic center, or with the facility areas, and then private businesses, even.
Yeah, we want to explore what we're able to do here. We have some sports that have some excess funds within our organization. I could add to that 50, depending on what the civic center committee could do. You know, it's, one thing that changed, John, is that we have some money where we didn't when you came to us before. And that makes a big difference. And we're doing this as a community thing, not just as a sports thing.
Your service club should be able to help out a little bit too. I mean,
Yeah.
there's a lot of other functions. I mean, I'm one that has been involved in the Montclair Civic Center with a lot through advertising and trade shows, job fairs. I mean, there's a lot of other things that you can use that building for with that chart down. I'm not saying that we don't need to look into it, but there's a lot of possibilities. There's a lot down there, so to speak, that you can use that building and make some money and generate funds out of that building. I'm concerned about kids being on there, is one thing. I'm concerned about the next level with high school kids. And I'm really concerned about football players
In what way?
well, just what they're wearing on their feet, what just the abuse of the product. I'm just. Yeah.
So we talked about that, whatever you do on grass, you can run on that. Ideally, I probably have high school kids that didn't find clean sneakers, and I believe that's the policy of the Montclair Civic Center.
You're not gonna walk off the street onto the turf, you're gonna have to carry whatever to wear on. And to your point, the fact that Ederson used it for, I think it was more than 15 years, wasn't it 19 years, I believe? And again, they have no plans of replacing it in the immediate future, so it obviously it holds up.
Why wouldn't, you said you didn't want to paint the lines on it? I guess, why not? I guess I'm asking if there was a show there or whatever.
Yeah, the lines are magically showing different sports have different lines.
I know, and, I see turf, fields everywhere, and lines all over the place.
And I think it was a crazy amount of money per foot to put lines on.
It increased the amount and in two for Jeff's crew. Now you gotta make sure you line all these up. Lines, right? Because it's a big jigsaw puzzle at that point. Number two, if our feedback from Rutland was the lines are the first thing to go. Like, that's the first thing we need to replace. So, and the most important for us at UISA was the price point.
How much was it, rough guess?
We really didn't.
$12 a foot?
Yeah.
It was crazy amount.
How much?
$12 a foot, some is in the back of their mind.
Lines that, we don't want to get too much of the weeds.
Yeah.
The way most of it's gonna be.
Yeah, that's what it's
Yeah, there's a lot of full games, so, but there's a lot of work to do before we get to that point. So the biggest thing I see is the funding, where it's nice to have more usage over there, we have a building that sits there all season long and doesn't get a lot of be able to sell that building for multi-use. So any more questions?
Yeah, I'm just gonna bring up a topic that came up before. I do think that issue of Berrytown support, even at a lesser support level than Berry City, would be a real sparkling, shiny kind of thing for everyone involved. I think it would show motivation, it would show partnership, and, while they may not be prepared to toss 50,000, some significant amount under that, I'm sure would be appreciated.
Just to be candid, I think one of the difficulties with that is that this is going to generate income. So how much income are you prepared to give your town? To your money. Don't mean to be harsh, but that's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
This isn't a lost proposition.
This is
Well-
maintaining the building too.
Yeah, the building.
We're not making,
Oh, yeah.
I like we got thousands of dollars in the city. budget.
But you're maintaining it anyway.
And the BOR,
It's not like-
BOR, it just shifts the buildings, the auditorium. Used to be auditorium lost money, BOR made money.
Right.
Now with the numbers, BYSA hockey will not, and the cost just to that building is sort of outlived its usefulness.
Yeah.
So to speak, his age is over, 50 years old now. And, so it's not money maker.
And so you can do stuff like that.
Yeah, there's gonna go, push up to the roof.
They moved a lot of money, Russ.
Yeah, so there's gonna be, it'll take generations to put in place. It'll be, I mean,
I understand. City and.
no, but, I have no problem with very confident talking, it's always, this is nothing to do, it just really bothers me because this is the facilities that serve, and I always look at these sports as not only boundaries, it's meant for the community. And that's just really, it's followed us, we have 4 of us, 5 of us on the very down on Sunday.
And this discussion's only been going on for 40, 50 years.
Yeah, I know.
Nobody's resolved it yet.
I know, but we used to do something cool, like, the way the money, it's like, I was explaining, just so you guys know, this committee has no authority, and all we do is make recommendations. It's up to the city council, so you'd be having to make this pitch. Eventually, the council, I don't know. This is a great idea, so, yeah, I support it.
In terms of the council, what do you say?
So I just have 2 comments. One is about the Berrytown situation. I think it's a great idea to ask Berrytown for money. I think they're going to be very reluctant to give us money because this is going to go to the city. So this turf is not going to belong to BYSA, it's going to belong to the city of Berry. So the Berrytown's going to say, well, the stuff that, is property belong to you guys. Yes, it benefits their athletes, yes, it much it benefits the city athletes, but I think that's going to be the political realm that they're going to do. I do think the council would support this. I have had some soft conversations with some councils even this morning, regarding putting turf in. And that everybody really would like to see more opportunities for our youth, to see them doing productive things and not out there causing trouble. If we can make a building that's not usable, for structured activities, things like, we held an open gym just, last week, had 60 kids there. Those were 60 kids that would have been out on the street potentially doing something that we don't want them to do. And if we can hold activities at the BOR with turf, to have a volunteer person come in, open that up for our community as well. I think it's a big selling point.
With Barry Diamond, I don't know, recreation director now too. I met John, very proactive, young hole, wants to do a lot of things. Maybe then we try for us to get our recreation department to do more programs with Barry Town recreation. Tie that all in. I mean, you could have summer camps in there.
Right, and so we have the rec committee to make sure that this was utilized.
Can I clarify, ask for clarification on the funds now? The funds that this Civic Center has for this facility, is that now controlled by the city council? They would have to approve the use of
They
it.
would have to still approve. We can say we want to spend X amount, I don't know, the civic center approve the fund, but they will have final say on it.
We would like to think it doesn't go
Yeah.
I'm all ears. And that is part of the reason that I took a break from the election this morning, working it to come and see you guys. Because as a football director, with BYSA, and as also as a city councilor, I 100% support this project. I think it's something that is going to bring us into the next level of where we need to be as a community. We're constantly talking about what we can do to improve things or how we can do things to improve them. We're trying to bring this to the table to fruition so we can have those opportunities that we're always talking about.
Any other questions or comments on this?
I think there are two things to think about in this overall project. If it was to move forward, is someone would need to be the scheduler. I don't know how that's done now, is that you or?
It just runs through my office and our Stefan's office.
And
We have an
then,
online scheduling program, we can look and see what's available.
and then we did find at the Civic Center that, Mark's got kind of cold. So a companion project, maybe down the road, would be a large space heater of some kind. Just kind of keep that in mind. That may happen.
Something to look at, that would not yet be quite a pricey proposition.
Well, we went to Capital Soccer, and it's, of course, the Civic Center, and went many years without any heat there, and everybody survived, but it's all.
Those heaters still work, the old bleachers.
Yeah,
They,
I don't know, I know it will go on.
it wasn't very expensive temperature, and part of it is because you're not taking the temperature from 0 to 50, you're taking it from 40 to 50.
But Jeff, what did you use for the fire
So
show?
wasn't that?
the farm show, we used to have, these huge propane heaters we set on the two side exits. They fit in those
Was
doorways.
it something I did or something city had?
And actually, they go on the wall. They bring them up and truck them up. We have these big fans that move the.
Yeah, I remember that's why you put that forward side of the door.
I'm not from Vermont, but as you look across North America, you can see that the urban areas that have sort of a division strategy versus a community strategy have run into problems consistently. And I think that we could make really beautiful music if Berry City and Berry Town work together more often and in partnership rather than sort of a divide and conquer. That we're all in this together. This is actually a very small community. And in particular, the Canadian models are really exciting to look at. You know, the big urban areas really work together well. This is almost a minuscule area of Area City and Berry Town. We can do better. So,
We have been trying.
okay.
Yeah,
You know,
Mike and I are meeting with Johnny on Friday, by coincidence. But that would certainly be one of our topics.
A two-part question, just from, so I can, what youth sport do you represent? You represent football, volleyball, I mean, how many hours from the 1, 2, 3, 4, can you guarantee you're gonna be using that building over there for top of the town? Just to start the revenue process,
Mhm.
just your groupings, how many hours do you see yourself using in the 3 seasons, spring, summer, and fall?
Okay, so as it stands now, Jeff can speak to where we are in April, right? It's,
April, you hear is about all of April.
yeah, and it's more, and then the other
I
part,
don't want to hear generalizations of all of it, how many
Well,
hours?
Yeah, there's no There's no turnaround.
Apples and oranges.
But, well, the other part too is we need to do more homework. This is like an initial meeting with you. And then what we'll do is like Ben was saying, is getting in touch with Rutland and do a little bit of a study as far as what they rent out there, because it will be very similar, I would
and
think.
so as well,
Still has the same turf. And so they run in like the Civic Center, they run the indoor soccer up until, June. You know, so we should be able to put a little spreadsheet together as far as.
I agree with Mike in terms of this is a little preliminary, you know, just kind of.
Well, there's so many things going on, you go in front of council, you're gonna need to have. You're gonna, that's sure, we just be prepared for, questions.
We come up with a bright idea now and then, well, we don't always keep swimming upstream. We head downstream, but, yeah, we're gonna stick with this one. We're gonna hang in there.
Yeah,
I can tell you in April, it's open 7 days a week. Lacrosse is every Tuesday and Thursday. Community baseball, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Then they do, Central Vermont League, which is a Galaxy player. They're there for the first 3 Saturdays. April's booked up, then we get halfway through May, and then depending on, can we go outside or not.
Mhm.
And I think you pick up more time in May, because you can't expect every day to make runs.
Was Woodchuck off cross, they think they would be interested in using that? In the
yes,
summertime or?
I'm not speaking for Ian or Matt.
Yeah, but.
Yes, they run leagues, right?
Right.
And I mean, that would make it very attractive. I think one thing that's hard to quantify and that and why we need to reach out to organizations that have a turf, looking at the scheduling of the cement rink that has no heat, you're not gonna get an accurate number of a forecast, right? This provides newer opportunities that we can currently not see. Like Woodchuck lacrosse, like a nighttime soccer team, right? That could happen during the summer, right? So, and you're right, it is pie in the sky and it's not a hard number. I don't know, at the end of the day, we're just trying to provide an opportunity for our community, right? To use something that's not being used year round.
Good plan.
you know, and as you're considering the return on investment, consider what you're putting in, not the 135. We're not looking for a return on investment other than to have something for our kids' students and our family students. So the city, or civic center, whoever puts in 40,000, 50,000, that's the number you need to justify.
And I
Not
never,
our portion, we're happy.
I never thought we're not a business, so we're not necessarily business making money. The councilors, I think, will provide opportunities, there's a benefit to spending money, you might not see a return investment, need money for providing things to the community. I always look at these as
Sure.
we can maybe cover costs, but we can provide events, provide things that help the whole community, so that's what message to the council too, the benefits of this is not just,
So a kid that plays lacrosse or soccer or whatever, or regular programs. Is he gonna have to pay more because you're gonna pay rent over here?
They don't currently know. So when we rent it now, we have a set restructure problem, be like after soccer pretty low. I think it's off the top of my head, maybe for this season, I believe it's in the sixties, that's $60 they pay. We're not looking, like Paul said, we're not looking to recuperate this investment.
Right, no, but I'm just asking about the kid that now plays soccer for approximately $60 a year,
Yeah.
whatever. You're also, out of that $60, you're already paying something towards the use of the BOR now?
Yes.
Okay. And
Well, can I fill in just a little backstory,
Yeah.
so you're all aware of this? The original York Estate came to us, with $600,000. We set up an endowment fund. I know a lot of people got the money, spent it, we set up an endowment fund. This fund pays 4% of the principal balance every year to our sports, based on the formula we had developed on number of kids, how much they spend in the sport, and the registration. Thanks to that, things like what Ben's talking about, we now have money coming in each sport. I think lacrosse gets maybe $5,000 a year. That helps them provide scholarships, and a lot of our kids scholarships to some degree. And to do these off schedule things, like renting space in rainy seasons. The program's very strong.
600,000 is still there?
Yes.
No, it's in,
Yeah, that's what I mean.
It's still there.
And you actually are getting kids that you're providing free for.
Absolutely.
During COVID,
Yeah.
We could never do that in hockey. We tried for many years in hockey, but, we talk about skates and you name it, everything else that kids have.
We
take
take
care
care
of
of
sneakers, but most of your sports.
No, just for example, we run a 1-2 first degree clinic. There's the elementary, we buy sticks, $50 a stick. I usually buy 20, we give them away. Like, we're not making any money with the loss. We look at it as an investment in these kids, and selfishly as coach, I'm trying to get them away from baseball and lacrosse and trying to get it done. But that's just all of our sports models. I know Mike, no, not Mike, Martin, his daughter runs soccer. They had no registration fee at all after COVID, just trying to keep kids coming. And for us, we still had things going on in COVID, but other communities didn't, and that made our programs way stronger. And the other part too, like I said, is as a high school coach that's followed in, this is a great opportunity for our high school kids. Instead of practicing on hard gym, my girls can practice on. So I mean, it's a really large opportunity. And not only that, the rain seasons we have right now, we practice and play on in the field. Falling is garbage. This could allow coaches, even when there's good weather, our field needs a break, we're going.
You can get small boys like this.
So,
Yes.
yeah.
I assume
So
some
now
of
they
those,
practice, I'm sorry, they got practice in the gym for baseball too, so.
Yes.
Any balls in there too?
What's that?
Any balls in there?
Yeah. Like, yes. And Jeff can speak for that, but he's offered it to the high school, I don't know, because of the cement or.
I offered, I don't, the response I got was, they like using their own gym.
I'll turn back on this, I coached that for a year, and it was hard, you can't put it, they rush fast, they slip, it's just, you can't play. So instead of coming here, which was kind of our wish list, because it's a nice environment to play lacrosse on, balls and so forth, we went over to the high school gym, it's just, and we had one practice over here.
No, I was talking about baseball. I asked the baseball, the athletic director, said, we've got 2 baseball batting cages set up, we've got 2 fast pitch softball cages set up. The other half of the hours looking for throwing, whatever. No, we like using their own gym. One batting, I don't even think that.
what are you gonna do with batting cages if this is there? What are you gonna do with your batting cages if this is there?
We still have it.
Yeah.
We just, when we use other sports, like, lacrosse was in there on Tuesdays and Thursdays. We slide the netting, the batting is off the side, pitching machines out there.
I assume some of those scholarship kids are from Berry County, you will mention that at your meeting.
I tried, I'm the first one to say it.
Yeah, in full disclosure too, a measurable amount of our kids are Bear City or Bear Town. Our programs are open to any child that doesn't have a program in their community. If they have one, Queenstown Soccer, they can't come to our soccer program.
And I think that was-
Washington.
I have kids from Northfield, Williamstown, not a significant amount, but there are some kids that we're providing opportunities for that don't have opportunities.
Actually, there should be, I don't question that at all.
No, we don't want to say no to anything.
Exactly.
I think this is, it's obviously you guys have done a lot of homework on this, and you have a sample right here. It sounds like you guys are talking to it, it sounds like there's a little more thing to do about it, in terms of use it, what percent of projected, how much you still get, fund and things like that. Good usage of the building, so it's a kids. Interested to talk about it. Potentially interested in helping with this. So great, we'll have to talk more about it.
Yeah. And I think not just with kids, though, I mean, like I said, other terms of overall community, our biggest thing we want to address is just in sports, it's multi-purpose.
Any other questions on this?
There's not a basic, something that shows.
Yeah, I think that's, we're looking into, because they will at least try.
This turf was over ice,
Yes, it can be installed on this.
and go right on top.
Oh, really?
The
Yes.
whole thing, or strips, or pieces, or however you want to do
Yeah,
it.
so this is a Canadian company, and obviously Rockies came out there, they don't ever take up the rights. They lay down for us as well, and MLB is also using this product, not the multi-purpose, but the higher level. I think over in London, this company's doing it.
Yeah.
Does it pursue the 45 choosing it right now?
Relevance, so, and UVM.
I just do, better.
Yeah, there's a field hockey, they primarily use field hockey in the gut. I doubt it, but that's the one that's over 15 years old. So it's not quite the same product. Yeah, and so, yeah.
There's a worthy, I see this, Paul, and I appreciate what you're doing here. I don't, pretty expensive, I don't see the revenue coming in.
Well, like, I mean, yeah, at first look, I understand it because there's really no precedent. But there is $40,000, $45,000 a year to come into the advertising over there. Could that be used for that?
That's what we do. That's the city center.
And as Paul was saying, though, look at it as being, we're gifting this amount of money to it. So look at it as far as revenue, as far as being only the 40 or 50,000 that Barry really needs to justify.
Our kids ought to factor in there somewhere along about time.
Yes.
We've lost fields over the years that have not been replaced and were promised to us, and I find that problematic. And you struggle to keep up with the fields that we have.
And I think it's important to point out too, to recoup this, we have a minimum 15 years of that turf from the older versions that we've seen locally here in Vermont. So it's not like we have to have a return within 5 years. I mean, and that's something we need to look at hard, is, what that number is, or one, it's accessible to our youth programs, our high schools, right? But if we need to recoup this within 15 years, so that's something.
I was gonna say, this is a really attractive and positive idea for the eventually sometime in the next couple of months, if you could maybe share a chart of your projected sort of fundraising revenues, I think that would be helpful, so that we would know where our amount fits into a larger picture.
Okay.
But if it's divided out by 15 years, that's 10,000 a year. You know, we should be able to generate that. I
Absolutely.
would think. And even if it's just the community use, you know, you cut that in half by the idea that you've got a facility that you're able to use. So you're really trying to generate maybe 5,000 because of 5 employees. Will use 2 years.
You've got to become very unapologetic about the sports angle. Because kids need to be physically active, kids are learning their leadership skills that will promote themselves in jobs. And I think that calling it a multi-purpose surface is fantastic, but don't be apologetic about all the goods that come from sports participation.
You're right. You're right. You know, perhaps amongst our, we do brag about that, but, it's more politically correct.
Well, I would talk about that openly, get some good stats on keeping kids out of jail, really, this is a very important thing for the community, and it makes sense to talk about it without apology.
I think that's a good presentation, as I said earlier, it's not preliminary, a bit more details, but something that we're interested about, I think would be great for us. So, and hopes are having this one, have any other questions? Thanks to address on this.
Just when we do present this, we need to bring in not just, we're doing it for, you know, athletic events, we're doing it as a community driven thing. Like I said, you could have somebody, the moves club could have a boxing tournament in there, you could have badminton tournaments. There's all kinds of.
No drinking. No drinking. Wait a minute. I don't know that. I'm pulling up.
If beer is still on, they're gonna.
No. They made a good point that it's really easy cleanable, it's non-microbial, and you can take a piece off, close it down, and pop it back in. Here's the green light, guys.
Appreciate you coming by, I think that was awesome to hear, and it's pretty exciting.
Thank you.
So the process that we'd be going through as far as you get back to us as far as you don't present anything.
I don't know if we're there, I think there's some thoughts that have to be done. Budgeting and potential uses, before it goes to the city, I think we should have all that.
Great.
Yes, you do let us know, or Jeff can let us know as far as next steps.
Yeah, and if you could give us a document of what you need from us, like an email, like we need this, and we'll get right on that.
Excellent.
You guys want to check out the
Yeah,
sample?
you want to walk on
Pretty much.
All right, thank you.
Thank you for your time. Make sure you go vote today.
Yeah, so these are here. And baseball and other sports. Yeah, so it's all. So basically, you can imagine other classes. But yeah, it has time, and also for safety, it's safer to drive. So, but like I said, right now, yeah. You know, and that,
You're out there too.
Yeah, exactly. My daughter. And we will. I'm not worried. Different places, I think.
Yeah.
I can reach my house, that's fine, and as you know, I'm holding it, I don't have.
It's okay,
Yeah.
it flips quickly.
Yeah, you have to be right.
Yeah, they're good.
Okay, let's get this back on track. We're obviously not gonna cover everything. Let me get out of here.
Yes, I think that's good.
So, let's, move on to the next thing real quick, approval of March 2nd in a couple of months. Do I have a motion to approve those? Okay, go ahead.
One change, on number 7, that time. When I mentioned the handrail improvement, it wasn't in the balcony area, it was in the bleachers, the large fire bleachers.
Okay. Was that on 7, you said?
Yeah,
Okay. Okay, so you want to modify that and
And resubmit, yeah, so, but just for clarification, the lower tier of bleachers is what you're talking about.
yeah. The bleachers that are in front of the balcony.
Okay.
real, next item, number 3, so we are no longer the Civic Center committee, we are the building and facilities committee. So, I'm not assuming, I don't know if there's anything that's structural in terms of what that means. I did find something that Sue had sent out, very Civic Center committee responsibilities. That will have to be modified.
So it's all buildings now, police station, city hall, and all that, town garden, is that all there?
I haven't seen it either. So, we haven't seen it, my personal feeling on this one is the Civic Center has a lot going on right now. And that will continue to be our main focus. Things will be introduced as they come along, I'm sure, and we'll have changes to it. As they presented it, I've heard, yes, they don't want to have a specific group that looks at just the Civic Center, they want to do the other facilities. In addition to the
But wait.
I mean, our agenda,
the swimming pool, yeah, I mean, so,
and it's not open, I hope.
right, that's, rec department. So, we almost were throwing in the rec department, I think we all feel, myself, I'd rather be the facilities than the rec department. Rec department needs to use the facilities. But right now, we're just gonna kind of go on as the focus on the civic center, and then those come off, we'll have to pass on.
So are we kind of mirroring the facilities that Jeff is responsible for?
Involved.
So you're responsible for all of the facilities? Okay, so in fact,
I would say that down the road is.
Okay. I mean, this is an opportunity, it's sort of like a land grab opportunity, where we have more responsibility to make money off of other properties perhaps.
Well, so you look at, Works Drive, if they need to do one, that
That's
could
a
take,
bummer.
that could take us.
That's not more than me.
Okay, good, because that's like, that would be.
But are there other things?
Otherwise, I would go. So that will evolve, we'll have, I'm sure there will be discussions between the city manager and us about that. We'll probably at some point have to, update this very civic center committee responsibility that you did too. I don't think, we want to push it necessarily, aggressive, and say, well,
No,
forward.
I know. There's one.
We can still learn on properties up in the mayor's office, the city mayor's office, sponsored by, also. Great opportunity for you.
They came to, this was their grand plan to change all the names. They have to basically. But you can't consider the our roles on it's gonna have to come from the guidance to us. So, come. But we're not, I think we're gonna focus on all the things that we have going on here, which is pretty substantial. So, moving on, any other thoughts or comments on the building and facilities committee? No. Okay. So moving on, we've got about 25 minutes for home this time again. Number 4, maybe just like highlights, project review. They did a fantastic presentation here. They kind of give us drawings and documents of their whole senior project. I don't know where it's going to go forward with them, so are they done with this, or going to continue next year, or where do we on that?
So the presentation on the 14th was the final presentation from the seniors who have been involved in the project. And we've had a meeting with Professor Mike Kelly, sort of the next steps meeting, and he is very interested in personally being involved, but of course wouldn't have the opportunity to bring in students for a second year. But he has relationships and he has a lot of background that would be very useful. So I thought that that was very positive. And also just a brief piece on media attention on the project was fair. Times Argus did a story on the 18th of April that made the front page, but Norwich looked at this project with a pretty strong eye. They only do national outreach about 3 or 4 times a year on their projects at Norwich, but the director put it out as a national press release and there's a reporter, Zachary Bennett, who used to work for U.S. World and News Report, who wrote a story about the project. So she basically sent a chart. A lot of what's going on in the media right now is digital. So she can send a chart and show how many hits, 650 hits from national newspapers. They put it out on their online services. So I have that chart. Oddly, you can also see the international breakout of what countries are watching to see, and it was primarily the US, but secondarily China. So I just was curious. I've reached out to her to get more information about the physical reproduction, like using the press release as a launching point for a written article, which is more difficult. And she's going to get that and give me that stuff in the next week or so. So the overall media outreach on this project seemed very positive from what I've seen so far. And overall also, I think that the students got something from it, we got something from it, and we have some very helpful documents that have been created from, construction documents to, let's say, a 10-page structural roof assessment that gives us a pretty strong sense of whether or not a solar array could be placed on the roof when the roof is insulated. The paperwork here can't be used as construction documents without hiring an engineer and hiring, basically somebody to look at this. But the paperwork was done with Professor Atwood and Professor Kelly. So it's certainly very high quality work. Also, I have a larger document that goes through all of the recommended equipment that the students and the professors have examined. I do want to say that when I talked to Mike Kelly, he differed with the heating system that was recommended the students and felt strongly about a hybrid system instead. But that can be a future discussion. So the documents that I have, they're going to ARC. I'm going to have digital copies of this soon, but I only have one physical set. I think that the project is a good launching point for taking the renovation very seriously. And I'm pretty excited about the project so far.
I think it's an excellent project. I think that this is the next step, obviously. Cities made noise about getting a construction manager to manage the funds. And they would take that, and then that's a lot of the labor that they would have done. So I think it's a great start for them. I haven't heard anything about that, except that they're looking at a construction manager to run the project. With that,
There might be some issue, with the way that the national budget making sessions are moving forward. I don't know how quickly the money may end up here.
Once we get it, how much time do we have before we can come up with matching funds?
And that also remains to be seen and what qualifies as a specific match. So, like low interest loans from can qualify for, rural development. There's a little bit more work that has to be done. I've reached out to Nicholas and asked some specific questions that have yet to be answered. And I'm not trying to follow, trying to
What kind of matching funds do we have to come up with?
Like 1.5, 1.8 million?
Yeah, but for instance, there are some projects, like, let's say, the solar array would be an example of a project that is underwritten with certain federal grants, and those are qualifying.
I don't think you can do the solar array, because we are a city area, I think, because the solar array we already have for the city. The city is doing that metering, and so I think this building is part of that.
I'm
I
not
don't know,
sure.
that's explored.
I haven't heard that it is. So, and certainly this is early, but what I was trying to explain is there are federal programs available for certain types of improvements, and some of those funds can be used against the.
For matching.
Yeah.
And I was down at the Civic Center in Montpelier. For the crosswalk, I was just rolling around, checking out the facility and their mezzanine area. They have like every room, everything that's built, there's a plaque. No, I mean, that's just sort of, I don't know how reasonable it is, but like, as we look, they talk about the project, they talk about it by the press conference. The students had an idea, which we never thought of, doing a block, creating two officials, we talk about we need officials, right? We need for male and females, especially games with male and female referees now. Doesn't matter if it's men's or women's. They talk about using space up there, so get a donor, like this room paid for, a donation, generous donation of, you get a plaque, the plaques right at the entrance. There's different ways to try to.
Yeah, I mean, about a year ago, I talked about the importance of having an individual donor program. And I maintain that it still is a very important thing that essentially we could start developing a centennial fund so that we're in a position to actually celebrate the 100th birthday of this structure. However, that's, that's down the road.
Based on the VOR plaque situation, we don't have a good track record. I mean, plaques, never came back and stuff like that, so. All the plaques, of course, they're all in, and, we got one way.
But I was walking around, it's like 3 little rooms. Was a donor.
Yeah. So,
Funds of this and how to raise money, the city manager did indicate that, not free money, but, they're committed to finding the funds somehow. So that they don't leave money on the table.
we're at an early phase where we need to collect some more information before we can have a real conversation. But one thing I do want to say is, on the plaque front, most organizations, nonprofit and municipal organizations, plaque things up too early. It's really important to go after the large naming activities first and to not piecemeal things. And I would advocate strongly for being very strategic about how we go out to find.
Yeah, I mean, that's a big discussion. anymore, so unless there's any other comments on that, I think report.
3 items that I'd like to bring to the table this morning. 2 years ago, 3 years ago, some of you may recall that we had a basketball extravaganza, which we called the College Classic, the Friday and Saturday before Thanksgiving, involved the state colleges, Norwich University, and BTC. There's been a couple, pardon the pun here, a couple of curveballs thrown at us in that Castleton men have dropped out. They've committed somewhere else. BTC is virtually non-existent right now with their athletic teams. And we're not really sure what the future is for that particular program. This afternoon, Bernie and I and Bob McLeod are taking a ride over to Norwich University to meet with the 2 coaches there, as well as, I believe, the athletic director, to get a more firm commitment from the men's and women's team from Norwich. So we're piecing that together. I'm hoping that it will come together, because it's a pretty nice event, and it's critical that our sponsors who spend thousands of dollars up here see events which are happening like that. 2-3 months ago, lying in bed, I was thinking, if we can pull this thing off as we have, and it's been more successful the last 3 years, getting better, why couldn't we do it for high school? So I am pleased to report that this year, on the 23rd of December, we're going to have the winter solstice up here in the auditorium. And it's going to involve 4 high schools, 8 different teams. And I've already got it approved by the BPA. I've already met with the athletic director at Hazen. I've had a commitment from all 4 of those schools. I need to follow up more with the athletic directors, who are always busy and absent, just never seem to find them. But right now, on that date, which is a Saturday, the men, women, boys, girls, the boys and girls team from Hazen Union High School, which is in Hardwick, is playing People's Academy, which is in Morrisville, bitter rivals. And later that day, the women's team, men's team from Spalding High School playing the women's and the men's team from Montpelier High School. We will pack the auditorium. There are some stipulations that we had to agree to. And more importantly, high schools can only play 20 games a year. So each one of those participating schools has to give up 2 home games. But right now, everyone understands that, and it's never over until it's over. But we're just about 95% sure this is going to come together and be a good thing. We are splitting the revenue of the gate with those schools, and then we'll get a piece of it as well to cover the expenses. So 23rd of December is going to be pretty busy here on the hill.
That's great.
This is something, folks, that I want to bring to your attention and ask you to give serious thought. On my computer downstairs, every time, I'm so computer savvy. So when I come in the morning, all I have to punch in on my computer to get it working is 2017. Rick set that up for me that's when I started. I've been here 6 years, which is just unimaginable, but here we go. What I'm asking here today, in the course of those 6 years, we've been fortunate for the good-hearted and good-souled people of Chittenden County, even over to certainly Washington, Chittenden County, so on and so forth. We've had an awful lot of support from sponsors from the get-go. And in the course of my 6 years, I don't think we've lost no more than 15 sponsors, but we're able to replace them almost, well, not immediately, pretty close to immediately. And to this day, right now, sitting here, we have a wait list in the auditorium. We're full in the BOR. What I'm asking, never to have done it since my time, I would like to present to this committee the possibility of hosting a sponsor appreciation afternoon sometime in the month of August. Run it roughly from 3 o'clock to 5 o'clock in the afternoon in the auditorium. We'd have some goodies to eat, which I would go to Hannaford's, which is the sponsors of ours, and get something, I'm not sure what it would be. And I'd also go down to PNC. We'd invite all of the sponsors to come. We'd invite the city council, the mayor, the town, I mean, really make it a big deal. Just to show our appreciation of each person's, some of them, most of them, the majority of them, in my time of tenure here, has spent over $6,000. $6,000, and we've never given anything back but a handshake and a thank you. And every other year, we put a thank you in the 2 tabloids here in town. You may have seen it, they just ran recently. I just think it would be a very classy thing to do. What I would like to do at that time is I would like to give a door prize away. 2. And I would like the door prize to be 1 year free sponsorship in both buildings. So as Charlie and his group sponsored a VOR over in the VOR, if he were to be so lucky and pull out the $1,000, everyone would think it's cheating because he's on the committee, but we pull out his name for that next year, his company would get a sponsorship free. We have 1 free sponsorship there, 1 year in the VOR. That's a total of 2,000. I think if we were to do this whole gig, it would cost us somewhere in the mid $2,600–2,700. So I think that's a very small amount when you consider that in the course of 1 year, 2,600, no, for the 2, giving away the 1,000, 1,000, and the food would be about $650 probably. You know, you gotta have some refresh, some coke, some water, and so on and so forth. But given that we're asking these folks for a 7th year, to spend another $1,000 or $2,500, however it is, I think it would make for just a great PR move on the part of the committee.
Jim,
Yes.
I like the idea of the sponsorship event. I'm not sure that I follow the door prize. Could you explain that a little bit? I don't know that that's necessary.
Okay.
Why don't you have a basketball shooting contest?
I'm not going to address that question, but for obviously, I'm trying to make this pretty serious. Maybe it doesn't have to be. I just think it would be a classy move to do it. And $2,000 for 6 years, I mean, do the math on that. And these people, it's kind of, it's sort of like putting the I guess it's like almost like putting the frosting on the cake, because if the sponsors who are there and they're showing that they're being respected and they're being applauded and they're being thanked you for, and have that as a little token of appreciation, I just think it would go a long way to in current and or future sponsorships in the years to come.
I love the idea for the thank you event.
I mean,
I do love the idea of a thank you event. It's just that I differ with you about the door prize.
okay.
Would you be doing this on a yearly basis?
No, I would not. I haven't done it for 6 years.
I know that. When you start something, I'm just asking a question.
I don't think so. I mean, it's like the thank you that was in the world and in the arts. We do that every year. That costs us
I have no problem with the cost and doing what you're suggesting. I'm just asking if you were going to do it for next year.
Okay, I might add to that, the comments is, I think it's a great idea. I wonder if there's a different way to do it, besides the way the sponsorship, if there's like a premium spot, where we say, look, you'll have this amazing spot for, next year or something like that. Instead of giving away money, but it's also $2,000 for revenue brought in, so, we can discuss that.
And your point's well taken, Charlie, but there's no budget. However, By the way, we have all the banners back, let's get that message. So we're, Jeff and his crew are gonna be moving banners around in the auditorium for that very reason, that everything basementy, whatever they are, the people that take care of basements over on the road going up to U-32. There right now, they have a banner which they've extended from 1 year originally, they've now paid $2,500 and they're up there for 3 years. And we're moving them over because they're taking one that. But we've already sold that, I mean, the banners are all gonna be done up there, so the premium spaces which are right behind the basket that both in. We have no right come up for sale very often, because people appreciate where it's located.
Yes, yeah. I think,
But he's there, I mean, he's in both buildings, he being done.
I think it's a good idea. My only suggestion is not do it in August, for a couple reasons, with vacations, for the whole school. And in September, October, I was thinking it might be better time, because that's sort of a kickoff to the busy season, right? Because BOR might be opening in October, then start getting off in the auditorium. So it's sort of like thank you for your advertising, we're getting ready, you can also have these events you have scheduled. And also,
I like that idea because the vast majority of the sponsors, their contracts expire in the month of November. So if we were to tag it into September-ish or even October, it'd be cool to go into.
Yeah, if you're, yeah, it is a lot.
I don't care if we have it. I'm just hoping that you might give it some serious consideration and put forth about 25 or 2,600, which includes the 2,000. I mean, it's costing us 25, 26.
Can you tell us all what that generates, what the BOR and the auditorium generates per year?
Around 60,000.
And we've been doing that for
6 years. Think of that. That's a pretty good piece of change.
I want, because I can relate to both sides of this, being the sponsor and being on that wall and BOR and the auditorium, down off there. As far as my business goes, it was great advertising, it was great promotion, it was community stuff, it was everything like that. But, so I think there's a lot of people that you've got on those walls that have no plan on coming down there, they want to stay there. And that's why you've got waivers, because people see the value of being over there, up on the walls of the auditorium, especially during tournament times and like that. So, but it's tough for him every day when he's going, I mean, he's got to wait, it's just like, almost anywhere, it's great while it's happening. But as soon, but something turns around and all of a sudden he's looking for customers and it's tough for him to pick the phone up and find somebody, especially every year or two.
Yeah. What's starting to happen, just a little ripple right now. And obviously I'm pretty thick skinned if you haven't figured that out. But sometimes when I go into business and they see me come in, it's like, what do you want now, John? Because I've been in Nelson, I'm not usually, because Bob has never done that, but because Bob has actually, bless his heart, he's had a banner in the auditorium, all 6 years. And he just committed to a dash across the street from Ross WPTZ. As soon as the dasher, it'll work, either built, the banner comes down or dasher comes down, within 48 to 60 hours, we can find a replacement.
I make a motion that we approve, I guess, subject to the city council, we're going to spend $3,000 for an event, our sponsors event in September or October 2023.
I'll second.
And the money's coming out of the, what we call it, the general improvement fund.
Why not change now?
Yeah.
It's the building fund.
So we got a motion to table.
Go to the one, all there.
Opposed? Excellent.
I hope everyone, please, no pressure here, but I hope everyone sitting around these tables can come, and anyone, I'm talking mayor, city, county, this is really this is a big political,
big, it could be a very lucrative, but most importantly, a very important and appropriate PR for them.
We get, artificial turf was it, you know, but also, there's just one more thing to tell the sponsors, like, look, we're investing in this, we're helping invest in this is gonna create X more amount of usage, X amount more facilities.
Okay, I think that's great. That's what you had. Okay,
Yes.
So we are running a little late, we should be getting done now, that's completely safer. Yeah, we got a couple items left, and everything in your report that you're on the table.
There's a couple of new things coming up, this fall. That's why I'm saying, is in September, October. V-Trans is going to do some kind of event on 27 in the auditorium. Downtown Sox, if you remember last December, I think it was, they had their employee recognition. They're looking at doing something again in September this year. Montpelier Recreation Department's coming back again in October for the ski and skate sale. The other things going on right now, you notice all the traffic out here, the New England, used to be a municipal highway show, New England municipal highway show, both buildings are going on tomorrow. Mixed martial arts on Saturday. And that's about it. For shows this week. Painting, this was done a while ago, or the complete third floor, everything on the third floor right now is done. And we're doing the stairwells, it's sort of the same color, but a little darker, we can look at it on the way out. Yesterday, I went down to Roof Bernie called me, Roof was buying new tables, and Mr. Denby being in charge down there. We got 20 some odd tables. Yeah, they're wooden, but they're a lot sturdier than the wooden tables we have, and we've been replacing with plastic. These are perfect, it will be good for the gun show, they're a lot heavier, sturdier, hold up something better. In return, I'm gonna help them out by when their new tables come in, storing them in the off basement. They're at their floor, before we finish, so we'll keep them here. And then when they're ready, we'll bring them down to the floor. Set them on one.
So does that take away the conversation a couple of years in a row, where we have to buy new tables for here?
We'll still eventually buy some more plastic ones. Right now, we've got 150 plastic ones. We still have some of the old wooden ones, but they're beat up, they're broke. So we'll get rid of those, take the 28 to 30 tables from them, they're in much better shape. So we've got a good supply of, rectangular tables. So we're going to buy some round tables. Just watching the price is down a little bit, plus then a place to store them. Ideally, that room, but it's full of recreation stuff. Once we get down, we get a few of those in here.
Excellent.
How much money do you have in the improvement fund right now?
191,100. I looked it up over here, but I don't know to say it.
So, excellent, I think that's, that's fantastic news from everything we talked about. I'd like to, unless you have anything else, I'd like to move, we're very past, two other things, let's call this meeting, adjourned, and then we'll let start the session. For a quick get something on the table, this point.
Adjourn, right? Executive session.